any sentient beings impartially, without any kind of discrimination. And again, like you say, remember I told you, the first precept for the lay people is no killing, not human being. Not talking about monk. Whenever they incite any kind of violence, or especially kill people, they're not entirely to be called monk anymore. This is simply clear cut. That's throughout Buddhist history for more than 2,500 years. It's still rare to have this kind of problems. That's why we don't have any kind of holy war like other traditions. Because this is the first one. It's still clear cut. If you step over, you're done. No matter you call Buddhist or not, you know that you're out of the realm. You understand that? It's still clear cut. So that's why for me I try to stay away from politics no matter what. Yeah.
That's a good practice.
Yeah, it's not easy. So
politics is corrupt.
Yeah. And it's great, right? In this country, somehow our founders created a system, separation of church and state, right? When they involve too much in politics, let's say the monks and nuns, if they involve too much politics, they don't know, they don't have time, right, to cultivate themselves. Don't have time to do meditation, right? So for me, it's better for me to become a politician than a monk if I want to involve in politics. So when you really step into one profession, you better stay there. Of course, there's some duration there, but still, you need to know who you are. So that's my view. Of course, now it's not easy to maintain that. Okay, so and but basically, since especially Thailand, Sri Lanka or Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, Laos, and so forth, they follow the Lao tradition, conservative traditions. You know, when we talk about conservative, right, they don't have much flexibilities, and that's why sometimes they have some kind of extremists there. And so this is, but this is exceptional in Buddhist in general, and even some crises happened in Burma, Dalai Lama, all you can say all or most of the famous Buddhist leaders around the world condemn any kind of violence war, any kind of violent act. When you go against Buddhist tradition, it's still clear cut. Okay, so let's see, number 4. Christina, what do you have?
Actually, I'm doing number 1.
Oh, you know, sorry.
I did number 4.
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I did it on today's Vietnamese government, which prohibits the independent practice of Buddhism. Only state-sanctioned Buddhism is allowed. People are allowed to attend Buddhist temples and perform rituals and burn incense. However, you can't practice it at home by yourself through meditation or any forms like that is outside of the temple. If you practice the ethical core of Buddhism, the right speech, the right action, and the right livelihood, you're more likely to end up in jail against crimes against the state.
Yeah.
The Buddha in Vietnam, they do have a constitution that declares an individual should have the freedom to worship as one. However, they don't practice it, so they don't even follow their own constitution. The Vietnamese government is careful not to allow growth of centralized or organized religions that serve as a challenge against the authority against the Communist Party. The government has made major religions in Vietnam a wing of the Communist Party. They go hand in hand. You can practice your beliefs unless it happens to be a different belief than the government. So if the government feels like that your path to enlightenment is against them in any way, shape, or form, you can be jailed for that. The history of Buddhism in Vietnam is tied to the political history. They have gone through different religious traditions, from the Mahayana Buddhism to Confucianism to Taoism. A lot of them are mixed and matched. Vietnam also has their own religious traditions called Cao Dai. Is it Cao Dai?
Cao Dai.
Cao Dai, there you go. And pretty much it's just a bunch of different practices put together from all the different dynasties that reigned over Vietnam. They have the world's second most famous Buddhist, and his name is Thich Nhat Hanh. He returned to in Vietnam in 2005 after being exiled for 40 years, I believe, for wanting to practice the correct form of Buddhism, what they call the correct form of Buddhism. Since the fall of Saigon in 1975, installation of totalitarian government, communist government, Buddha has been one of the world's #1 violators of basic human rights, including freedom to practice one's own religion. So pretty much, they even have several of Buddhist monks on house arrest because they want everybody to be able to practice the correct version of Buddhism other than what Vietnam's political communist party, and of course they were taken over by China, and that's why they have communist parties, and that's what I got.
Yeah. So you see, that's similar to the Chinese attitude towards Buddhism nowadays, in this modern day. Again, it's still a long history, but starting from the 10th century to the late 19th century, somehow Buddhism have good relationship with the kings, Vietnamese kings. In general, there's some upside down, some oppression, support, and so forth. But in general, they have some kind of good relationship with the kings. But again, start from actually when the country divides into two parts, the north and south. In the north, yes, they didn't allow any kind of practice with the reason of fighting to unite. But yeah, the part of the country that means South Saigon, South Vietnam. But of course, in the south, the first president of the South Vietnamese government is a Catholic. He's put up by the American government, according to history. And what happened? Yes, actually his brother is an Archbishop. You know Archbishop, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a long story, but let me make it short. In 1963, his brother, he called it Archbishop, tried to make a showcase that South Vietnam follow Catholicism, and but the reason why during the Buddha birthday celebrations, usually the Buddhist people, they would hang the Buddhist flags in front of their house, and they have the celebration and so forth. But the government didn't allow them to do so, and so that's a great crisis. And you know the monk who burned himself, you know, right? Did I show you that clip? Mm-hmm. Right? He burned himself not because he wanted to commit suicide, but wanted to make a cause to wake up that public president. Yes, and later on he was assassinated, and 2 weeks later, John Kennedy was assassinated too. You know, right?
Yes, John.
Okay. And yes, and so there's a lot of turbulent chaos during those times. But somehow, in South Vietnam, people still have some kind of freedom to practice traditions, as well as Buddhism. But later, after 1975, things turned upside down again, like the situation in China, that they control the monks and nuns, they control the Sangha, but less severe than the Chinese one, because personally I know it well. But now that they loosen, they give their to the Buddhist Sangha. But in general, like I told you, whoever involved with politics, most of the time they will be corrupted monks. You understand that? So most of the time, if monks and nuns, they sincere in their practice and tradition, most of the time they go to forest or go to high mountain practice. Or they don't involve with the official status within the Buddhist Sangha. Here, let me see here. So somehow they have some type of showcase. Let me see here. Let me show this. That means the Buddha birthday celebrations, that they want to show, they make the showcase to show their freedom of tradition, freedom of religion. Sorry, this is in Vietnamese, but yeah, you can see the picture image. And here is the president, the former president of Vietnam in 2008. Basically, remember, the president at that kind of special separation is not to promote Buddhism, but to have made a showcase, right? That this freedom of religion in Vietnam, but that's not the case. And like some of you asked a question, right? Even they train some communist agents as Buddhist monks and nuns so that they can send abroad, especially in this country. Why? To control, or to, not control, but to run, you can say that, to run the Vietnamese Buddhist communities around the state. And of course, you know, it's not hard for the Buddhist people to recognize that if they are sincere Buddhists. And even me, in my case, sometimes I like to go back to my country, but I still hesitate. Because some of my Buddhist friends who went back there, they say that, well, you can visit the country, you can go here and there, but you cannot talk in the public. You cannot give the teaching in the public.
Oh, okay.
You have to have some kind of permission from authorities. You cannot be free to go here and there to talk to people. Of course, you can go to your friend's house, relative house to talk, but not in the public. And of course, all the monks in Vietnam, they have to study the communist ideology and so forth.
So what is the religion in Vietnam? I mean, if you can't teach...
No, for us, they consider us, for even Vietnamese, but they consider us the foreigners, we can say that. Only them, only the one who live in Vietnam, only the monks and nuns who were trained in that system could teach, not the outsiders, because they feel more comfortable with. But I think eventually they will open and they give some power. So eventually they have to go with the flow. So, so to compare the situation in the country, in this country with art, with China or Vietnam, of course we better, right? We have more freedom of choice, we have freedom of practice, as well as we don't follow any cut that harm all the people, right? We have a lot of cut, right? Like in Texas, what's that? Waco. And remember before 2000? Remember?
Some of the Joneses?
That is different. That's James Jones is different, right? James Jones is many years ago. Before 2000, remember some cuts that they commit suicide. Then they say that they went to heaven. Remember? Right. So anyways, this is some kind of cut. So somehow we have freedom, but we need to follow with the rules. Okay, so you have anything more to say about Chinese tradition, Chinese government?
I read a few articles about how in China they are recreating the art they destroyed and like putting it in temples or even selling it to Westerners.
Yeah, that's the way. Most of the time they commercialize.
Yeah, commercializing the whole institution.
Yeah. The tradition. Okay. Let me see. Number 5. Taiwanese government, no one does this. Let me show you this one again. Taiwanese government is quite a little bit different because somehow they follow the democratic policy because they have influence from especially United States. Let me see here. They have more freedom to practice the religion over there. I just show you a short clip. You won't need to watch all. This is one of the what they call in Buddhism, like in Christmas holiday, the Buddha birthday celebration. The Vesak is similar as the Christmas holiday. It's really important. And 1,000, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000. You don't understand Chinese, don't worry.
Are they standing up?
Huh?
Are they standing up?
Yeah, they stand in. Yeah, they do this special celebration at the central part, at the central at the center of the capitals of Tibet there.
Okay.
Is it Tibet or Thailand?
Taiwan. This is Taiwan.
This is Taiwan?
You know Taiwan? It's a small island.
Okay.
I went there several times, and whenever we went there, some local officer would come to visit us to show support, and you know they really need the support from Buddhist communities because Buddhism in Taiwan is really popular. This is one of the major one. Okay, so this is that's in general. Okay, the next one here. Joy, what do you have for Korea? Oh, you know, right? Yeah. What do you have? Yeah.
Yeah, Buddhism came into Korea 1,600 years ago.
Mhm.
Korea had 3 different kingdoms. And after that, the Buddhism was developing and changing slowly to blend into Korean culture. And then a monk named Buddhism-Part founded Buddhism named One Buddhism. April of 28, 1916. And One Buddhism is a modernized form of Buddhism that seeks to make enlightenment possible for everyone and applicable to regular life. And anybody can practice One Buddhism if they want.
Okay, yes, sir.
I say I did Korea as well, and I had
Okay.
I had similar to him, and then I had in the 1980s President Chun Do-han, who was a Methodist in South Korea, actually adopted a bunch of anti-Buddhist policies and attempted to restrict the Buddhism movement throughout the country. He turned a lot of the Buddhist temples into tourist resorts and national parks, and then they raided several monasteries claiming that they were leading anti-government movements and claim that they were trying to purify Buddhism, and that has continued, and that nowadays a lot of Protestants, because it's mostly Methodists who are leading it, because that's what their leader is, have started converting to Buddhism or Catholicism to get away from the kind of hateful practices that they've had in Korea.
Yeah, let me show you this short film clip. This one is sometime last year. The Buddhist monks, they went to demonstrate or protest.
And in a protest in Korea, tens of thousands of railroad Buddhist monks flooded central Seoul today to protest against the president. They say the government's policies favor Christians and hurt Buddhism.
Buddhists criticized Christian President Lee Myung-bak for naming several members of his Presbyterian church to his transition team before taking office in February. Buddhists became upset again when government maps released online in June did not list Buddhist temples.
We're rallying mainly because of the Lee Myung-bak government's suppression of Buddhism.
About a quarter of South Korea's 49 million people are Buddhist and another quarter are Christian, one of the highest percentages of Christians in Asia. One monk who refused to give his name said he hoped religion could be free from politics.
The Constitution clearly says that religion and politics are separate, but this government isn't aware of that.
Last month, Buddhists were angered further after police stopped and searched the car of a top Buddhist leader. Lee, who has battled massive street protests in recent months in opposition to his policies, said his government advocates religious neutrality.
Okay, there's another clip. Yeah. There's,
천년 고찰 중 하나인 서울 북한산 부선사에 불이 났습니다. 재작년 불타소실된 낙산사를 떠올리게 한 아찔한
can you translate?
함사의 사건 사고
Just explain it.
Too fast for you?
Was it?
지난 862년 창고
I understand what it said.
물에서 90평원 연기가 뿜어져 나옵니다. 소방관들이 호수를 들고 가파른 비탈길을 뛰어 올라갑니다. 몸을 피한 신도들은 사체이 손상될까 발을 동동 부릅니다. 다행히 불은 행정사고를 보는 종무소만요.
Okay, anyway, can you translate what's
Yeah,
that?
they try to find that temple there, and no one died or hurt.
Okay.
Everybody just ran away from it. That's what he said.
Yeah, so again now we see some extremists, right? Because of the faith divide people, and this is so violent. And of course in Buddhism, one is go against the tradition, but all the tradition. That's the way. Okay, so let's see. Number 7, Vicky, what do you have?
Well, Buddhism in America is, of course, a lot more, or a lot newer than it is in the Eastern nations. I pretty much focused on the U.S.
Okay.
Buddhism, just the West, but so it came to America in the 19th century with immigrant workers that were being brought in mostly from China. The government didn't really have much involvement with it, of course, with the separation of church and state. So in 1853, the first Buddhist temple was actually built in San Francisco, and within 50 years, there was over 400 Chinese temples, mostly dotting the West Coast. And the only time the government really got involved with any kind of persecution wasn't really specifically of Buddhism, but the Chinese Exclusion Act that came up in 1882 did stop a lot of immigration, and there was racism, against mostly just because of Chinese or Asian, not so much Buddhism again. And then during the Vietnam War, a lot of monks and Buddhist followers came to the West as refugees in search of religious freedom. But mostly here what we have is engaged Buddhism, which was coined by, I'm not going to say his name right, by Nick Han. During the time of the Vietnam War, which is, it's not so much actually the religion of Buddhism, but people incorporating it in with social problems, the morals and the teachings of the Buddha, but you don't actually have to follow so much Buddhism itself, which is a lot more, I think, easier to blend in with, the democracy that we have over here, because, our government doesn't really incorporate any kind of, Buddhist teachings.
Yeah, that's good to separate church and state, right? But actually, in World War II, they put many Japanese citizens in what they call intern camp, right? Intern camp, right? So because they're concerned about Japanese agents.
I was trying to see if there was anything that was specifically Buddhism.
Do they compensate this type of Japanese people when they after the war, after World War II? You know that?
No, they did.
They did not. Okay. But anyway, after World War II, up to now, we have a policy where freedom of practice, freedom of faith, and that's great. And of course, many U.S. presidents receive Dalai Lama, right? Right? In office, but this is like this is their policies to encourage the freedom of practice. Okay, so number 9, what do you have, Kevin?
I did Korea.
Oh, you do? Oh, I'm sorry.
We skipped 8.
I skipped 8. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I skipped. Okay, let me show you this one here. Let's see here. We watched the clip about Spirit Rock last time, right? Okay, I want to show you another one here too. This one is very popular. This is done by the layman Robin Carr. He creates Vipassana Center. That is his name here. Remember, on Monday I told you one of the reasons why mindfulness practice inside meditation is so popular. You know why? Because they take out the element of faith, of God and so forth. So this is the layman. It's very special. He's an Indian man. He drove many what you call Vipassana Center. That people come there for 10 days, and you're not supposed to talk from day 1 to day 10.
Oh, man.
Can you handle that?
No, I
Yeah.
never make it.
And you're not supposed to use your cell phone. You're not supposed to use your Wi-Fi, computer. Put everything aside.
You don't talk?
No talking.
How do you get directions?
No. When you are in the retreat center, when you join with them to do meditation for 10 days, no talking, no cell phone. Yes, sir.
Can we write? Does he allow like written words, or is that like no communication at all?
Basically, no communication at all. And I have some Buddhists that attend one of this center. Even they don't allow you to take notes. Even in the dorm, when they finish doing meditation and come back to the dorm to sleep and so forth, they're not supposed to communicate, not supposed to talk. So basically, you shut down everything for them 10 days.
And what's the purpose? Mindfulness?
Calm down your mind. Let your mind not to play around with the games, the worry games. You understand that? Let your mind rest for 10 days.
I would have anxiety about not being able to talk.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, there's many people actually.
I can get up all the technology, that's no big deal,
But not
for 10 days.
I would want to where are you from? What do you do? What do you
Yeah,
like?
I think you can learn a lot from the people there.
That's the verse. That's they want to reverse the pattern. That they want to reverse the habit, the common habit of us. Because when we have when we engage in any kind of conversation, we tickle, right? We trigger our mind. Yes, sir.
Does anybody ever freak out?
I don't know. Probably some of them it's be challenging for the first few days, but some of them they enjoy that. Depend. When you shut down your mind, actually, of course, the mind still working, right? You're talking internally, but outside you cannot communicate. It's really tough. Yeah.
Can you start like I guess what you do is you start maybe one day, maybe a couple of hours, and you build up to 10 days.
No. When you're there, you will there. You're exception. So it's better. You better prepare for yourself. And then I have some friends, some students here. They have some friends that attend that kind of session. In Chicago, they have one center there. It's really tough for them at first, during the first few days. It's like you try to cleanse your body. Try to do the fasting, for example. Have you done fasting before?
Yes.
How many days?
Oh, just one.
Like one.
How many days?
6.
Really? It's really tough for the first couple of days, right?
It was tough for all 6 days.
Okay, it's just like the fasting of the mind. And somehow many people, they find this is very interesting, this is very helpful when they can cleanse your mind, to redress your mind. Because our mind always in the active mode, is that right? So that's the method. And somehow now, his center is spread everywhere. In Europe and so forth, and even in Chicago. So some people, they like it. And most, he doesn't charge people to attend. He just based upon the volunteer work and donation. Yes.
Can you explain that? Is that part of the
Techniques of Vipassana?
Yeah.
Remember we talked about
it the other day
inside
in
meditation?
detail.
Yes, sir.
What happens if like you're in his session and you talk or you're out? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
You
that's
gotta
the
go.
policy. That's a policy, and I think some of them gave up too. Some of them give up if they could not handle. Right. So anyway,
It's like the Viking lose.
yeah, that's right. Okay.
But I just want to know, is that like a form of mindfulness?
Yeah,
Meditation?
that's we call insight meditation. That's
Okay.
you need to know what you're doing. What this is, you know what you're doing. You walking, you know what you're doing. You pay attention on things you're doing. That's called insight meditation. Yes, sir.
So through like us not talking and not communicating, you tend to focus more on like your movements, your body movements and things.
And your mind too. You just pay attention on the sitting meditation. Of course, sometimes they play some video clips about it, to give the instruction again.